morning. And any questions that you have, feel free to raise them. I did get a few questions through email. Um, I would try my best to go back to those and answer them. If there's anything that you have questions about beyond what we discussed today, um, feel free to raise that question. But basically, I just want to go over the major, what to expect, when to apply, and just that whole process. I feel that since we can't do a lot of things or anything really in person, there were events that were planned in person. And since we couldn't do those things, I wanted an opportunity to reach you before you got to UCF to try to encourage you to keep legal studies in mind. There's so many majors out there. There's so many things that you can major in. So I'm glad that you're considering legal studies. And I hope you don't change your mind. You'll be surprised how many times students will change their major before getting to legal studies, or they find out about legal studies further on in their academics. And so I try to change that to make the program more known, because sometimes students tend to think, well, I have to major in this or I have to major in that. And that's one of the questions that I received on email is, what should I major in? And to be fully honest, that is your decision. That's your personal decision on what you want to study for the next year and some change, or 2 years, or however long it takes you to finish, because you want to pursue what makes sense to you, and what you like, what you enjoy studying, who you enjoy studying amongst, because all of the students that are in the program are not experts. So this is not about, oh, I know about this or I know about that, because you're there to learn. So never, and I always say this to students, never feel intimidated if you're in the classroom and the students are working in this profession or working in that profession. Everyone is here to glean, gain, and learn in order to advance to the next step. Does that make sense? So the other thing is just keeping that in mind. Also, all of our faculty are attorneys. That is a unique thing. You don't find that. You find that in law school. Now, I know at state colleges, some of the faculty might be attorneys. I don't know 100%, but all of our faculty are attorneys. They're either still practicing or have practiced. And that's a unique thing that you can say about the department in terms of other majors. So there's that. Someone's messaging me in the chat. And so, like I said, any questions that you have, feel free to raise them. But I just really am appreciative of you joining me today. This should be about an hour at the most, unless for any reason you want to go on any longer. I know everyone has responsibilities and things to do, so it shouldn't go longer, but that's like my earmark of time. I am going to share my screen so I can show you some things that matter to your transfer. Before I do that, anyone have any questions? Just about everybody is on mute. So please unmute yourself to ask questions. The chat is more so if there's something going on with your audio or whatever, if you can't turn it on for some reason. But
hi,
I would ask that you do, just so that you can raise any questions that you have. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
It's Abigail.
Hi.
I have a few questions. How are you?
Okay, how are you?
I'm great. Okay, so a few questions I had. I also sent them by email. I know you.
Yes, I saw it.
Okay, so one main question I had was, is it possible to take a bachelor's degree in legal studies as a major and also pursue legal studies within the criminal justice field?
So the legal studies degree, just like any other program, is different. So
Okay.
you won't find two of the same. If you major in legal studies, it's not going to be like another program. So it's not like criminal justice. And
Okay.
I think, that difference kind of speaks for itself. I have students that want to be attorneys that are pursuing a major in criminal justice, and they come meet with me to talk about legal law school related questions. Then I have students that major in legal studies and they plan to either go into law enforcement, they plan to go to law school. So there is no right or wrong, and there is no cookie cutter.
Okay.
There is no program that law schools are looking for.
Okay.
It's not like, medical school or dental school or something like that. So
Right.
that's why I said before that it really matters to the student. It matters to the individual, because at the end of the day, why did I choose this? Why did I choose that? What interests me? What really gets my juices going? What really incites me to continue to learn? And there's some distinctive things about legal studies that sets it apart from other programs. So when it comes to the major that you choose, that's really your personal choice, because you want to pursue what you're interested in and what you believe you would do well in. Those are the two most important things.
Reason why I had asked is because I don't know for what reason it is, but I've always been strong in the criminal justice field.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also considering legal studies. So, I mean, I don't know. Would it be better to major in criminal justice and then get into law? I don't know. What do you think?
As far as better, there really isn't. There really isn't a better, because it's like choosing apple pie over cheesecake. What do you like? What do you want? Do you want to study the criminological system, or however you want to say it? Do you want to study how laws are applied and what they mean to different people, what they mean in different situations? Or do you want to look at the ethics of the justice system? Do you want to look at statutes as it relates to, breaking the law? Do you want to? I mean, really, it's a matter of what you want. And other people in the room might have the same question as yourself.
Right.
So again, it depends on you. Now you can listen through this and all of that, and it should help you make a decision. Another thing that students can do is look at the catalog. Yes, the catalog is voluminous. It's big, right? But you can look and compare what the faculty have said about legal studies, what the faculty have said about criminal justice. Even look at the requirements for the major. What I want to study, and then make a decision.
Okay, because I know there's you can become a lawyer within the criminal justice field, but I know I'll probably need to study legal studies, most likely.
Right. So as I said, there is no right or wrong.
Right. Okay.
All right. So one of the first things I wanted to share was the deadline for the fall. And that was part of the reason why I was hosting this summer. Now, some of you might not be ready to start in fall, and that's okay. But just to let you know that the deadline to apply is July 1. You apply online. It's pretty seamless. I haven't heard any issues with the application part. it's as many years as I've gone through this and things like that. The deadline, like I said, for the fall is July 1. As far as things to do, you can take a picture or screenshot or what have you. As far as those to-do items, and these are just general to-do items. Of course, you can reach out to me if you have any other questions, but basically, for the most part, it's a pretty seamless transition when it comes to applying and being admitted. That is handled with the admissions office, but everything is done online. You submit everything online, and with everything going on now, of course, your orientation and all of that will be online, at least for now. We'll see what the future holds for future semesters. And then you register for classes in your MyUCF. You're given a registration date, which is usually your orientation date. And for those of you that are interested in studying the major online, some of you might be, it is available through the online track. So in that case, everything, no matter what happens, will be online for those interested in the online track.
How does that work with, I know like the capstone or doing any kind of like on the job training or having all of those hours? How would that work if you're online? Like I just worry I'm going to run into a roadblock because I'm not in the Central Florida area.
A roadblock in terms of?
Finishing up those hours for capstone or like shadowing at like an attorney's office. I saw that some of that was like an option for a graduation requirement.
And you mean as an online student? How do you do that?
Yes.
Good question. So all the same opportunities are available to online students.
Okay.
It is more so a matter of the student's availability.
Okay.
I know some students are in another state or in another county.
Okay.
In those cases, we as a department and the faculty would work with the student to fulfill, if it's internship placement, as an example. If there were any opportunities for shadowing, like you said, networking and things like that. We have a mixer on campus at the downtown campus. We've had it in the past as a part of one of the classes. And, the students will come and get networking with, whether it's law school admission folks, whether it's paralegals, whether it's attorneys, or whatever the case might be. And also we try to bring in alumni too. But for those that cannot attend, there's a virtual segment. But we try to encourage students to attend if they can. Now, online track students do not have to come to campus for any reason whatsoever. No one can force you to come to campus as an online student. There have been times where students have met with their faculty because their faculty had an office in that county that student worked. Okay. So that was really good for them to be able to connect with their instructor and get whatever questions that they answered, because they happened to live in Brevard County and the faculty had an office in Brevard. So that's how that worked out. But, in any other case, it's a matter of what opportunities are available near you. So let's say you apply for internship and you're accepted, which is a totally separate conversation. But if that's the case, then, and if you're not able to do it in Central Florida, and if we don't happen to have a partner in your county, then that would be on you to try to steer that ship and find that partner. Okay. Not partner, but find a partnership for your internship. Okay. And that's if we don't have it, because in many cases we do.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. So I will get to the group chat questions as well.
So you do have an option of taking online and in class as well, correct? As far as what you're saying. Okay. So you're not forced, like you said, to take online only or on campus only?
No, okay. There's just an online track, and those students have to take every class online. Okay. Otherwise, you can have a combination. So going back to the PowerPoint, so if you're not ready for fall, those are the deadlines for, and I said 2020 earlier for spring. spring 2021 and summer 2021. And then again, if it's fall 2021, then it would be July 1. These deadlines tend to stay the same every year. So by the first of those months. And if you're about 95, 99% sure, hopefully you'll be at a full 100. And so you'll know, okay, the deadline's November 1. I should probably make sure I'm finished at least a few days or weeks before then. That's my recommendation, even though November 1 is that actual deadline. That makes sense.
And then the application deadline for July 1st, that's including transcripts as well?
That's just including the application itself.
Okay, sounds good.
So what do you need to apply? Do you all see the things that are on okay, maybe I should move that because I don't know what you can see when I share my screen. I don't want to have things in front of it if that's blocking on your end. In any case, these are the different options or things that students transfer in with, okay? Whether it's a general AA, meaning that they took all their science, their history, their math, all that, and earned the Associate of Arts, or Associate of Science and Paralegal Studies, or both the AS and the AA, or some college credit, whether that was 33, 39, 45, whatever. Now, with the general AA, like I said, that knocks out all of those general foundation requirements. So that means when the student transfers in, no need to take general psychology, no need to go back and do any of that stuff because it's done. Now, with the AS degree, you will have some GEP requirements, whether that's 1 class, 3 classes, however many classes. If you have both the AS and the AA, that's a lot of college credit, to be honest, but you will have met your general AA requirements, which means you're starting your legal studies courses. Some college credit, again, that just means that the student earned a certain number of GEP credits and all of that. Maybe they took a foreign language or what have you. Then you have some students, and it's not on here, but this is a sidebar, if they have like dual enrollment credit, test credit, which is always good. It counts, especially if you're coming from our state partner schools. Now, out-of-state credit, private school credit, not a bad thing, but it's just an additional hurdle because the classes are not always automatically recognized. So it's one of those things where you have to get the approval for some of your transfer courses when you have out-of-state and private institution credit.
Ms.
I
Johnson,
would have had a whole bunch of questions. Okay.
Because that's what I've been pursuing at Valencia.
Yeah, I know there's a good bulk of you coming in with that.
I'm doing the AA and the AS at the same time.
Okay, all right.
And paralegal studies.
All right. And that's another thing too. I did specify on there AS and paralegal. I know there are others, but we recognize the AS and paralegal studies. And we have partnership with the state colleges with that degree type. Now, I can get to the specifics of that, but I don't want to spend too much time there just because of time's sake. And I want to be cognizant of everybody else's time. I'm on your time, so it's not that hurry that I have, but I want to be mindful and respectful of your time. And so I don't want to spend too much time there. But as I said, the AS degree is recognized, so there are a certain number of hours that we will accept. If you have questions on that, like specific questions on that, you are welcome to email me because I don't want to devote too much time there, but we will accept some of the AS credit hours. And I'm sure someone's about to ask. They came off of mute, looks like, to say something. Go ahead. Question, someone?
Oh, no, sorry. I don't know if that was me. I'm like making noise. No, I'm okay.
It's okay. It's okay. No problem. So I put on here the direct connect or admission. The difference is you're working with your direct connect advisor and going through that process, or separate general admission. Is one better than the other? Not necessarily. It's a matter of where you are in the transfer process, and if you have the time and are, I guess the word is applicable for the direct connect, because I think there's specific processes and things of that sort. Now, I don't work for state colleges, obviously, so you would work with your advisor. But that's like the general schematic. But if you're admitted, then you would presume or resume and start the legal studies curriculum. There is no separate application. Just have to be admitted to UCF. I don't make the admission decisions. I'm not a part of that process, but there isn't an additional hoop that you have to jump or anything like that. So let's say you go through all those steps, right? And you're admitted. Then what? They're giving you hooray. That was my initiative there. So you complete and attend orientation, or if it's online, like it has been, you will complete it online. Take care of any holds that you might have. And one of the holds is the health center. Sometimes those stay on a little longer than we want. So you want to make sure that you're adamant about checking your admission status once you're admitted, and then making sure you're checking My UCF to see if you have any holds. It will show up like a red circle, like a stop sign almost, to give you that alert that you need to take care of something. Make sure UCF gets your final transcript. A lot of times more than desired, students will have gaps in their audit of classes that they took already. So I want to let you know that ahead of time, and not to panic. It's okay. It happens with the new transfer students. It's okay, and it's not going to delay the process. What I always advise students to do is give it at least one full semester before you start contacting the registrar office or contacting your college you transferred from. And I say that because it takes time for all of your records to come in. Once they get here, you're golden, you're good. But it can take time. So just keep that in mind. And then you register for your classes. Usually your orientation date is your registration time, whether that's online or when we resume in person and all of that. And then, of course, getting your textbooks. One of the questions that I'm getting here, and is interesting, the timing, is how heavy is the coursework if someone plans to work full-time and go to school full-time. And I know that might be the scenario for others as well. When it comes to going to work full-time, it's recommended to take maybe 6 to 9 credits of coursework. Now, of course, if you have to be full-time for financial aid, scholarship, grant, what have you purposes, I understand that. If you have to be full-time for those reasons. Now, if you have the flexibility to not be full-time in college, then do that. Take advantage of that flexibility, because There's no hurry to get there. You're going to get there. As long as you persevere, you persist, you're going to get there. Now, load of coursework, it is an adjustment from the state college to the university. And I would say that for any program, it is, because you're going from 1,000, 2,000 level classes to 3,000 and 4,000 level classes. So the level of work will be greater. Is it impossible? Absolutely not. You can do it. You can finish. Okay. And it's a matter of your diligence and hanging in there. You will have some challenges, but I think that's to be expected. And I think that's why we do what we do, right? High school was not like college, right? Right?
Yeah.
Thank you. So it's an adjustment. I mean, you're going from one level to another. And just like if you plan to go to graduate school, if you plan to go to law school, any student will tell you it is not like their four-year university. If you listen to our panel, we had a law school student panel in May. And it was posted on, I believe it was posted on Twitter. I don't think it's on Facebook, but in any case, everyone on that panel said it is not like it was. It's not. So know what you're getting into, and don't duck and hide your tail. No, give it all you got, and you'll get there. Trust me, you'll get there. If you have a question about your schedule, you can pop it in to me and let me know, hey, this is what I'm planning on taking. What do you think? And I'll give you some feedback. This slide here talks about the core classes, and it doesn't list them all. It just explains what are core and what are electives. You all might have heard the term core and electives. Electives are a little bit different with us. They're required to graduate. There are no set electives to graduate. You just have to have them to graduate. And you have to be intentional about what you take. Not just because it's open, or rate my professor said this and that, or whatever. Be intentional about what you take. Take it because it's fun. I know that sounds like weird, but I'm sure you chose this major and chose the law because something about it gets you going. And you want to either be in the courtroom, or you want to be an advocate, or you want to be a mediator or a negotiator, or you want to be general counsel, or whatever it is. So there's something about it that gives you that fun aspect, for lack of a better word. So finding your niche. And that's why you take the electives that you take. So at the end of the day, there are no right or wrong electives. And I always tell students, what interests you? What brought you here? And sometimes students don't know what type of law they want to practice. And that's understandable. Sometimes they don't know it until they get to law school, and that's understandable. So if you don't know, then experiment. Look at the class description, look at what that means in the field, like for example, torts or evidence, or law and society, criminal procedure, immigration law. Those are just some examples of the electives. And so look up more about it. Be a researcher now, because guess what? You're going to have legal research, and you're going to have legal writing. And those classes will prepare you for writing for the profession. And like the slide says, getting ready for your advanced experiences like capstone or internship. Our internship hosts appreciate when students know how to write, know how to communicate, know how to write an email, all of that stuff. And I say email, even though it has nothing to do with legal writing, but you should be able to draft an email or a memo professionally, right? What's the next question in the chat? All right, so spring 2021, there's some of you that are going for spring 2021. The orientations for that start in November. They usually start in November for spring 2021 semester. And they will go all the way through like the very first part of January, unless something changes in the calendar. But that's typically how it goes. And so you would select your orientation date. And I always say try to schedule the earliest one, if you can. So again, you have your core classes, you have your electives, and then there's a little asterisk for the supporting course. It's just one class for.
Can you give me some examples of electives you guys take for legal students? The students have to take?
Immigration law, bankruptcy law, environmental law, law and society,
Yes.
adoption law, conflict resolution.
Okay.
There's a lot.
Sounds interesting.
Just about anything you would want to know, we try to teach it.
Ms.
Okay.
Johnson, environmental law was something I was really interested in pursuing. I'm so glad to hear that you have that.
Mm-hmm. Professor Karen Consolo, that's her wheelhouse all day long.
Phenomenal.
So this was one of the questions earlier on, whether you're in the classroom or online, you can do it. I can't say that enough. You can do it. And then we have classes that are mixed mode. Not a super popular thing, but basically you have a certain percentage of your class that will be meeting maybe Tuesday afternoon at 1 o'clock, and then the other 50%, and don't take my percentages as set in stone, but the other 50%, for example, would be online.
Okay.
So when you're not going to class on Tuesday afternoon, you're doing your work online, so it's not like a free day. So that's called mixed mode.
Right.
Now, for the future, like these semesters coming up, just stay in tune with us as far as how the classes are going to be offered for those of you that are not going to pursue online track. Once we know, we publicize that information just like you see it now, for example, for the summer. So you'll know that. So the other question was going full time, how long will it take to complete? Very valid question. That I guess one of the things I could say is if a student plans to take classes in summer. Summer is always a good idea to continue to take classes because it helps you move along and finish perhaps a little sooner. Again, there's no hurry to get there. You're gonna get there. And if summer is not feasible for you, or you would rather have your summer off, or if you feel like you want to take that time to study for the LSAT, thumbs up, and don't feel pressured. Because if you're coming in with your AA or AS, your summer hour requirement should be met. And even if it's not met, you don't have the AA or the AS, there's ways to get that done. So there's no pressure. So to answer the question, it takes about 5 semesters. About. About. It can take 4, but that's really stretching it. It is, because it means going a heavy load every single semester. And some of you might be thinking, I can do that. Maybe you can, but you still want to give yourself time to adjust. So whether your first semester is fall 2020, spring 2021, summer 2021, or what have you. Start off balanced.
Yep.
Balanced is so important. And I'm not saying these things like this to, to whatever. I'm saying it like it's important to understand that you need to balance. Please balance. I don't care if you're coming in and you already work in the field and you do this and you do that and your dad is a lawyer and this and that. None of that matters when it's you in the trenches, because handling the processes with an attorney, like I have students that they work in the state or they work in family law. The family law is the state, but it's to go to hand in hand. But they work in the field in some way, or they've been working with their family's firm. It's different than when you're in the classes and you're having to study these things and you're having to do the research and you only have 10 minutes to take a quiz. That's not time to flip through the book. And you'll be surprised how many students have had that experience. Get it in, chew on it, let it simmer, get all the information in, and then sit and take that test, sit and take that quiz. Whether you're taking an online class or not, your quizzes and things will likely be online. Not for every class and not for every single quiz or test, but just from experience. And you'll have a certain number of days to do it. So it's not like you get one day, 10 minutes. No, you probably have a week to take it before the deadline. Now in summer that can vary. But in any case, going back to what I said with the time frame to finish, about 5, at most 6. And when I'm saying the numbers, I'm talking about semesters. So it can take you less than 2 years. It can take you a little over a year. It depends on many things. But you can do it. Does that answer the question?
Ms. Johnson, what about, hopefully I'm not jumping the gun asking this, but what about the accelerated learning program where your last year UCF is spent in law school?
So for most of you on this group, it sounds like anyway, you're coming in with a degree of some sort, whether that's an AA or AS. And in those cases, you would have spent the number of electives already when you earned your Associate of Arts, Associate of Science degree. So it's more advantageous, if you ask me, and since you are, to just work towards the legal studies plan, complete it. While you're completing it, work towards those benchmarks of the LSAT, application to law school, letters of recommendation, and all of that, as opposed to attempting that route. That's my advice. It's my recommendation. And if you have further questions on it, you're welcome to email me. All of you have my email address. If it was shared with, if this platform was shared with you through your state college, they have my email address. But for some of you, you received the email from me.
So to complete, let's just say we had completed the AA degree, and the electives we took, it has to be strictly for legal studies in order to, I wouldn't say make it easier, but once we do continue, let's just say we get into that legal studies major, it'll be easier for us to take, I mean, I wouldn't say electives since we took it already. So, I mean, what do you think?
What part are you talking about? I'm sorry.
I'm talking about like the AA. Let's just say we took electives in legal studies, and then we go into UCF to get a bachelor's degree in that field. And they say, okay, you took these electives in legal studies, so you don't have to take that.
Yeah. So I believe you're coming in with the AS degree, Ms. Falcon, right?
AA degree.
Okay. Thank you for correcting me. So with the AA, everything in that AA stays there. It transfers into your GEP, your general education, but that's it.
Okay.
That's one of the differences with the AA and the AS. Now, does that mean any disservice to you? Absolutely not. And as far as the electives that you take here, once you get to UCF, then those will be PLA or also known as legal studies electives. And if you happen to take something with a similar name at your state college, that's okay. That's well and good. You won't be charged extra or considered duplicate credit or anything like that.
Okay. So I wouldn't have to retake those courses again, correct?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
See, the only reason I didn't pursue an AS in as like paralegal or doing something legal study oriented in Valencia was because they told me an AS would not transfer to UCF.
Well, you get a certain number of hours. You get a certain number of hours, and it's not this ginormous amount of hours. Part of it transfers. You don't get a whole lot of hours. Like there's some cases or some programs where things will transfer in and you'll get like 18 hours or what have you, but that's not the way it works, if that makes sense.
I gotcha. Okay, so I did do right by following the AA then. Okay.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with the AA. There's nothing wrong with the AS. It's a difference of curriculum, and it's a difference of how courses transfer.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So now, if I didn't take the electives for legal studies, I would have to start at square one, correct?
Okay, so do you mean at your state college what you do, Takario?
Yeah, like once you get your AA degree, and let's just say I don't take those electives for legal studies, but I do want to major in legal studies, I have to take those required electives.
So as far as when you're at the state college and you're working on your AA, I know they have electives, and those electives you select with your advisor, take classes that are still of interest. Don't just take something, you know what I mean? Still be intentional. And then once you earn the AA, that's it. It's done. Your AA is done. Then when you get to legal studies, you will have legal studies electives that are they're totally aside from what you took at the state college, and you have to have those classes in order to graduate.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So as far as legal research, legal writing, those are core classes for the program. And because they are core, they're required to take at UCF. All of the core classes have to be taken at UCF. I'm looking at one of the questions in the chat. Direct Connect is something you work out with your state college. As far as the major, what I'm talking about is my program, Legal Studies. I can't really advise you on the real estate program. That's through College of Business, unless you're talking about legal studies and then having a focus on the real estate area, which you could do.
What about now in as far as pursuing this? What if you had an interest in, say, criminal and environmental law? Are you able to do both, or do you need to just find the thing you want to pursue and stay with it?
So within the major, we have electives broken down into concentration areas, and you can decide that this is the area that I'm going to focus on pretty much based on the classes that you chose to take, and you can list that on your resume. You can accentuate that however you wish, but you can very well decide to take more hours towards real estate or criminal or whatever the case might be in completing your degree. Some students decide to double major. Some students decide to major in legal studies, minor in something else. This slide here talks about the certificates that we offer in the legal studies department. And there's a lot more opportunities that are out there to you, but these are just some certificate options. Certificates are different than minors, specifically because it's on a certain topic, area, issue, whatever. And there are certain classes that you have to take to finish it. So these are things that you can pursue when you get there, or when you get here rather.
Okay.
It's not a certificate, I don't believe, but do you still do the licensure for paralegals through the legal
That's a good question. We never gave students a license.
Okay.
What it does is, and I think it's just the way it was worded at that time, but students can sit for the paralegal exam.
Okay.
It's not required,
right,
to be a paralegal, but it's one of those things that some students go after and pursue.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So these are just some highlights of our alumni and what they are doing. Recent graduates, like I said before, some go on to law school, some go on and use this major in other avenues, and you make it what you want it to be, really, to be honest. The law touches on everything, as you all can imagine, are probably already aware. These are past years alumni and what they're doing. We will be having a law week this fall, and one of those dates we will have our legal studies alumni talk about what they're doing. Well, they're all practicing the law. They're all attorneys for this particular panel, but they can answer your questions about what they did while they were a legal studies student, recommendations and suggestions for you all. The gentleman with the, I guess it's the only gentleman on this slide. He is one of our faculty as well, so that's pretty cool. But they will share with you the insight, and I think that's just a unique thing to have. But Law Week will also have law schools and admission folks.
Are there any prep courses for the LSAT offered?
So good question as well. I have been and will be offering prep. It's not an actual class at this time, but it is a way to get that additional knowledge, encouragement, insight, etc. In addition to that, I know UCF has an office called Continuing Education. They are like an area in addition to UCF, if that makes sense. And they have tests and classes that you can take. They have an LSAT 1 and 2. I haven't heard any feedback about it, but I know it exists. And that's as far as my knowledge base on that goes, because I haven't heard feedback from anyone that has done it. And if anyone has, you know, I mention it, but I just don't know the helpfulness of it. There is a fee, of course. It could be less than some of the other entities like Kaplan. I haven't looked that far into it. I just know that it's an opportunity that they have within their division. They're part of like the experiential learning career services umbrella, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just a separate entity. They offer different types of classes and tests and things like that. So
be as prepared for that as possible, because it's my understanding every time you take it, it gets more difficult or something. I've heard so many conflicting things about that test. It's just, I found myself trying to kind of puzzled, because I've even had attorneys tell me that that the LSAT does not is not a good barometer, if you will, for your success in law school.
It's all logic based. It's
Yeah.
not actually, yeah. My father-in-law, he's a lawyer, and he took it and he said it's one of those things that you study for it, but it's nothing when you sit down to it. It's completely different for every person.
And once you're done, you're done. I mean, like I said, the law school students were talking about it as well. And they said, you know, it serves as that gateway, and it lets law schools know how you can handle test taking and critical thinking and even the writing aspect and your preparation, what you did to prepare. I mean, that speaks for the score that you earn. So that's about the length of it. But yes, it's one of those things that is pretty exhaustive, you know, with although it's 35 minutes, it's not that long, but the questions and it really, yeah. So you have to spend the time to study and prepare. And that study and preparation could be a few months, it could be a year, you know, over time, dispersed over time, and however you want to plan that out, and what that looks like for you. But I always tell students it's never too late to start, or never too early to start that planning. There is a time frame that you definitely want to do it. So I don't want to call it too late, but there is a better time frame to start the planning as opposed to waiting until you have to then wait another year, if that makes sense. So in that case, it would be too late, you know, especially if you have a time frame that you want to matriculate to law school.
Gotcha.
Now going back to the chat, so as far as whether to pursue this or something else, your decision. It's a matter of what you want to study. I mean, College of Business, real estate courses, you're going to have your economics, you're going to have your advanced economics, you're going to have your algebra required, and all of those different things. And I can't speak on it too much because I don't advise for that program. But in any case, it just depends on what you want to study. Some of my alumni work in real estate. Some of them already have a license, or they pursue a license, or what have you. So it just really depends on you individually. I mean, that's your solid decision on what you want to study.
I definitely. Oh no, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I definitely know this is the path I want to take because I want to go to law school. I've talked to you before in the past over the phone. I know this is the path for me. I still would like to know more about that accelerated learning program, and I have my reasons for that. And if I could share them with you privately, I'd prefer to do that. But that's not a random selection with me. As far as my coursework that I'm going through right now, because Valencia does not have a pre-law program of any sort. They're just, when you get your AA, it's all your general requirements. Really, all the law classes are under the AS degrees. So I've had to take just everything generalized, literally. So all my real legal classes and everything going toward my law degree will be starting with you. So, you know, just like this, I've taken over the summer. I'm taking macroeconomics. I needed more electives, you know, but I've tried to take things that I think could have some benefit for me in the future.
Right.
But I'm not looking to be an economist. I mean.
Right. Right. It's what you have to do or what you have to take to get there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I hate doing things random like that.
Mhm.
I'm the kind of person that likes doing things knowing there's a purpose and a reason for plugging that in.
Right.
But I found myself having to do it anyway.
Right.
Crystal, I have one more question from
Absolutely.
before. So it is possible for me to study the legal law within the criminal justice field, I'm sorry, as far as being in the courtroom?
So there is no legal studies within criminal justice. There's a degree in legal studies.
Okay.
There's a degree in criminal justice. Both are bachelor degrees.
Right.
But there is no way to have both of them unless you were to like double major or double degree, or if you were to take some of their classes along with our classes, which is a possibility, especially if there's room for additional courses. Sometimes students don't have that room or that flexibility because of the amount of hours that they're coming in with, and we don't have to discuss those particulars now, but there are cases where they have to only focus on what they need for legal studies, and that's it, because they already have so many hours. But if a student has room for the additional, then absolutely you can take, you know, additional courses from outside. And it's a good idea to have a little bit of a mix that kind of speaks to what your interests are. So some sociology classes, some writing classes, because, you know, sometimes we tend to shy away from what's not natural or may not be as easy. So like, for instance, if anyone has the need to strengthen themselves in writing or strengthen themselves in communicating, then pairing our classes with those classes that will harness that strength, that's a good idea, as opposed to saying, well, that's not something I'm good at, so I'm just going to, you know, stay away from it. You're going to see that. You're going to see writing, and you're going to need that communication, because even if you're not in a courtroom, if you're general counsel for Walmart, whoever, then you will need that communication and you will need that writing. So there's some very good writing classes. I'm sure the state colleges have them as well, but there's some very good upper level writing classes, very good communication classes. And in fact, our certificate has that connection with the communication courses too. So it's just good to take advantage of the plethora of opportunities.
Right. It's funny because I do enjoy writing. I love to write. If anything, I can get straight to the point. Let's just put it that way. I do enjoy that. And I'm also good in that criminal justice field as well. I did take classes. I took all the classes in Valencia and I got all A's. I don't know what it is, but that field, that particular field, I enjoy it. I do have family members in law enforcement. And I also have family members in law. So I feel like the two is like up in the air. But
well,
those
you
are my
have
strongest.
you have to do what works for you,
right?
And not be driven by anyone else and what they think type of scenario, because sometimes, you know, opinions will vary depending on who the audience is and what their experience was. Just like Rate My Professor. I'm just going to say, and I wish I had said this earlier, when I had more people in the room, but Rate My Professor is not a reliable source. And I know some of you will say, oh no, she's wrong. I used it the whole time and it got me through college. Okay, fine. Maybe you did, but I would not encourage you to rely on that. In fact, I would discourage you to rely on that. For one, some of the faculty are unavoidable. Two, their experience, that student's experience could be so far off from your experience. 3, if you're online, then it really doesn't matter
Yeah.
because you're online. So 4, their delivery of the information and your retention of that delivery, your note taking and all of that and attendance, all of that is on you. And I'm a firm believer that you get out what you put in. I'm also a firm believer that people will take the time to rag a place quicker than they will give a compliment. And you all know that from restaurants and other businesses that,
True.
yep, exactly. Your Google reviews. I've done it. I've taken the time to say, oh, don't go to this place because you want people to know. But if it's great, you'll send an email to that instructor and that won't go anywhere else. And when that student perception of instruction, you know, the little survey, I think y'all do it at your state college, I don't know, but the survey at the end, you might put it in there, but guess what? A lot of times nobody else sees that. So rate my professor if you're going to use it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, it's about effort. Yeah, that's true.
Well, not only that, there's personality conflicts and stuff. Maybe that student and that professor just didn't get along.
Exactly.
I have never, in the whole time I've been back in college, I have yet to use that. I've never used it. I've looked up, I've picked the classes I think benefited me the best, and I simply took them regardless of who the professor was. And I've done just fine. I don't miss class. I'm in class every day. I do everything I can do. And
that's what you pay for.
Yeah.
Somebody is paying for it.
There's only been a couple instances where I've missed any class at all, and they were personal. I had no choice but to miss them. One occasion being that I got pneumonia one semester and out of class, and I had to work with my professors, which they were nice enough to do. Right. Then I hadn't missed any classes prior to that either.
Right. And that's the thing too I wanted to mention to the group at the beginning is communicate. If you have questions, if something happens, something comes up, communicate. They're not going to know if you don't say anything. And it's not so much of, oh, I don't want to look bad or I don't want to give the wrong impression. If you have valid reason and you have documentation, doctor's note, hospital note, whatever, then there's no reason to hold you accountable or hold that against you. You know, the faculty will work with you with that. So always just communicate and always keep a tally of who you talk to. If you happen to call different offices, that way you can know who you're talking to and what the information is that you're getting, and don't use that they told me, because there is no they. There's an office and then there's a person, and then there's no way to track it if all you know is they told me. I get that a lot. Another thing is just being mindful of due dates and deadlines. Due dates and deadlines change. I'm sure y'all have due dates and deadlines that change at work and things of that nature. So if they change, you have to go in there and check and see if there's been changes. And just scheduling yourself accordingly and keeping a good calendar. Study habits. Those are very, very important. I have so much I could say. It's 12:06. I don't know if anyone has to. I know some people have already left. So
I have one quick question. How would the workload be reasonable? How is the workload as being in an actual classroom as to being just online?
So
would they give you more work online? Because I've had this experience of in class they give you like a certain, you have 3 semester tests and that's it. And now because of all of this that happened, we had to switch to the online, and the workload was just so unmanageable once we switched over to online.
No, the course load is the same. The workload is the same. So the instructors don't put together a different syllabus for those that are online as opposed to when they teach it in person. It's the same workload. Now they might change what those assignments are or something like that, you know, because it should not be exactly the same. But in any case, and what I mean by that is the dynamics of the society that we live in and the times that we live in call for us to do different things as opposed to maybe 20 years ago or something like that. So that's what I mean by that part. But
That's true.
the workload is the same. So they're not going to require more because they're teaching it online. Now, it might appear that way because you're online. And I think with that, you just have to make the necessary adjustments because it is different from going from a classroom setting to online, unless a person is okay with that. Like I love online classes, but if that's an adjustment in and of itself, then it's going to be an adjustment in and of itself. So it's a matter of making the necessary changes. And there are recommendations for studying online. There's an online website, online.ucf.edu, and it has student support services there where it talks about if you have questions on this and that, and how to navigate web courses, which is where all the classes are housed, and suggestions and tips for online students. But I think the most important thing for anyone in this major is the time management and the study habits. And that might be the case for any program, but I say that because unlike your economics or your math, there's a formula. There's no actual formula for this. You can put together a formula and you can make it make sense to you, because sometimes you have to like read it over, and then you're like, oh, that's what that means. And then you have to spend the time it takes to get to that aha moment. And just like citing statutes, it's not like your MLA or APA. You need that base to jump off, but it's not exactly the same. If you were to go online and just look at statutes, you would get the sense of what I mean, because you'll see that in your classes. Listen to hearings. You know, over the past few months or weeks, Supreme Court has had hearings online. Listen to how they're speaking. We have a YouTube channel. We've had Zoom meetings and things like that. And when it's related to students in any kind of way, we post it online. Whether that's the department's website, social media, but we post it so that way you all know kind of what to expect. I feel like it was something else I was going to say and I don't remember, but does anyone else have any other questions?
No.
I've put my email out there for those of you that might not have had it before, but you're welcome to reach out.
No, I mean, for my part, I'm just looking forward to getting to UCF. I've taken I work full time, but then I've been taking 9th semester hours every semester. In fact, because of the foreign language requirement, 2 of those semesters were 10 hours. And I mean, I spend every waking minute studying when I'm not at work. I even study at work when I can. Because I wanted to get my 2-year degree done in 2 years. Right. And I've done summer. I mean, every semester I've taken classes and I've gotten it done. So I spoke to you. I know. I remember. I jumped the gun a little bit, and I apologize for that.
No. You're fine. You're fine.
But I've been looking forward to this moment for a while, and now that it's getting within reach, I'm just trying to make sure I'm set up. I don't want any hiccups, and I'm trying to do everything I can so that my transition is smooth. Right,
and that's my goal too. That is my goal, and I hope to see you all, whether that is talking to you on the phone, I meet with students on Zoom, like even once they're already here, if there's a need for that. So that way, email or to see you on my spreadsheet that you're starting. I hope to see all of you and the others that were on the call as well, because this is just, it is needed. I think we all can see that and can say that getting an education, period, but getting this type of education. I mean, and there's so many platforms that are talking about that, like how much we need the learners of the law. We need more attorneys and that kind of thing. So advocates.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're living in a world right now where legal is going to become more and more important. I think it's not going to go away. In fact, I think it's only going to get more intense.
Right.
That's just my thought on it.
Right.
And I mean, as you can tell by looking at me, I'm a little bit older than the average student, but I've seen a lot over the span of my life, and I've seen a lot of changes. I've been in the military too. This world's definitely undergoing some changes.
Yes.
Yes, and it is unfortunate, especially speaking, you know, for the young generation.
So change is good too. Depends on how you approach it, you know.
Right. Well, ladies and gentlemen,
it was nice meeting you, Crystal. Thank you.
Very nice to meet all of you.
Answering my questions. Thank you. Even though I had so many.
No, that's what this is for. I've said it before. No one is an expert. And even when the cases I say, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'll go find out, you know. So it's fine.
So once we enroll in this program, once we get to UCF, you would be my new
I will be your point
advisor.
of contact, your academic advisor. That's right.
Awesome. Now, is there any need to bridge a contact between you and my current academic advisor, or is there really any need in that?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll reach out if they have questions on a specific situation or specific student, but for the most part, no.
So you'll be our academic advisor for legal studies?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Now, is legal studies another term for saying pre-law?
I mean, basically anyone can be pre-law because they have an interest in either something like, what's the word? Maybe intellectual property or real estate law. And their major might be something totally aside from this because there is no right or wrong. So anyone could have that emphasis where they know they want to go to law school. I think there are some, and I'm not sure if UCF does it, but there's some filters where they ask, are you pre-law, pre-health, pre-this, pre-that, for any major?
Okay.
So,
My real hope, though, is to pursue environmental law. I think that's going to be one of those niche areas no one's getting certified in. And then I think that's going to get more intense as time goes on also.
Right. Well, there's no pressure. Like I said, I'm on everybody else's time. I've gone through the PowerPoint. Like I said, this is recorded. And I don't know how far the recording is going to go as far as if we're going to post it or whatnot. I think we will, but I'm not sure as far as the department is concerned. But someone asked, and I can try to share it if anyone wanted. So if you wanted me to share it with you, then you can send me an email.
Okay.
I just know I'm going to need to stay in touch with you.
That's fine. That's why I'm here.
I really do want to have a discussion about that accelerated learning program with you, please.
That's fine.
Okay. Do I just call your office and make that appointment, or email you with it, or?
You can email me. We can start out that way.
Okay.
And if there's a need or whatnot to talk further, then yeah, we can make an appointment. But we can start out start out with the email.
Okay. I'm not gonna pursue that right now. I'm trying to finish up at Valencia, and then my focus is getting my paperwork done for UCF. So it'll probably be when I get to UCF that I'll reapproach that subject with you, if that's all right. I just don't see any sense in doing it right now when I've got so much on my plate already.
Right.
It's not like I can apply for the program today anyway, you know.
Right. Right.
So, but I'm certainly not going to forget it. I promise that's the end of my commentary.
It's fine. It's fine. So everyone else good? If you want to take off the mute and just let me know.
Pretty much, you answered all my questions.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, everyone take care. And I hope to see you soon in the future.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson, for all your time.
All right. Later. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.